to the forest floor, something has shifted. Not in the snake, but in the balance. Because a creature who has watched the world from the safety of the branches only comes down when the truth can't be avoided anymore. And if you ever catch its eyes reflecting back at you, don't run. It's not hunting you. It's deciding whether you're still worth warning. Comment if you want the next chapter.
They were never meant to survive here. Not in places without sunlight. Not in environments where everything says they should already be extinct. And yet, they adapted anyway. The platyrrhines were the first anomaly. Tree dwellers built for warmth and daylight, somehow living in caverns where daylight never reaches. Their eyes changed. Their calls changed. Evolution didn't shape them. Something else did. Then came the three predators: a panther, a tiger, and a snow leopard, three apex hunters from three different climates, all found in the same impossible depth, separated from their natural homes by entire continents. They didn't just survive the darkness. They mastered it. And the last was the chimpanzee, a species we thought we understood. Tool-using, social, predictable. Except these didn't behave like chimps. They were silent, organized, watching instead of reacting, as if they remembered something they were never supposed to remember. None of these animals should share an ecosystem. They should never share instincts. But they do. The same directional migration, the same avoidance of light, the same tendency to gather near structures instead of open terrain. And just like before, the patterns weren't random. Spirals in the stone, symbols in the dust, markings no natural animal would ever create. But all of them seem to follow. If you've watched the earlier stories, you already know these aren't isolated events. 3 locations, 3 different species groups, the same silent behavior, the same pattern under their feet. The animals aren't the mystery. The environment is. And if you can figure out what all 3 places have in common, you'll be ready for what comes next. Some animals never needed to lie. Do not forget that. The crocodile doesn't argue with you. It doesn't react to your emotions. It just waits for you to make the same mistake again. You step too close to the water once, that's curiosity. You do it again, that's arrogance. The 3rd time isn't a warning. It's a conclusion. The Cape buffalo is no different. You charge one because you're emotional, reckless, or because you want things to go your way. And you don't deal with just one. The herd remembers. Not your apology, not your explanation, your pattern. Animals don't punish feelings. They punish behavior that refuses to learn. They don't care if you were tired. They don't care if you were angry. They don't care if you thought this time would be different. Nature doesn't negotiate with repetition. It escalates. The crocodile ends the mistake. The buffalo makes sure you never repeat it. Animals never needed to lie. Some animals never needed to lie. The raven doesn't hunt through force. It hunts through information. It watches, learns, remembers. It reads the land like a map of intentions. Every movement a signal, every hesitation a clue. The wolf survives through loyalty and instinct. A pack built from roles that never need to be spoken. No contracts, no negotiation, just truth written into the body. Follow, lead, protect, provide. The raven sees opportunity. The wolf sees responsibility. 2 predators, 2 different forms of intelligence, but neither wastes energy pretending to be something they're not. The raven calls the wolf to the kill not out of kindness, but efficiency. The wolf follows the raven's signal not out of obedience, but trust. Cooperation without deception. Mutual benefit without manipulation. Because survival is clean when truth is clear. But when they watch humans, both animals tilt their heads, confused. We hoard information from the people who need it. We let pride sabotage the pack. We burn bridges with those who would amplify our strength, just to protect a reputation that doesn't feed anyone. The raven understands leverage without betrayal. The wolf understands power without domination. Animals never needed to lie. They know alliances don't require ownership. Loyalty doesn't require blindness. And leadership doesn't require noise. Some survive by reading the world from above. Some survive by moving through it together. But the ones who endure the longest are the ones who recognize when a signal isn't a warning, but an invitation.
The warning comes first. Some animals never needed to lie. Before the strike, before the bite, before the chaos. There is a moment. The cobra doesn't chase. It rises, hood widening, body lifting, eyes fixed. It doesn't attack immediately. It clarifies. That posture is not performance. It is instruction. Back away. Now, the hyena survives differently. It doesn't flare. It advances. Slow steps, head low, laughter cutting across distance. The hyena tests the edge. It probes for hesitation. But even the hyena signals, the circling, the sound, the tightening distance. Neither escalates without warning. The cobra makes the boundary visible. The hyena makes the pressure visible. And then there is that second. The air changes, the posture shifts, something becomes certain. That is the moment you realize something is about to happen. If you move then, you avoid consequence. If you ignore it, you choose it. Animals never needed to lie. They showed you exactly what they would do. The warning always comes first. The question is, do you recognize it in time?
What if I told you some animals never needed to lie? For them, survival is pure instinct. Honesty is strategy. The hawk survives through focus. It doesn't rush the field. It circles. From above, the noise fades. Movement separates from distraction. Opportunity reveals itself. The hawk doesn't chase everything. It chooses one moment. When it dives, the decision was made long before the fall. The white tiger survives differently. It doesn't circle. It waits, still, contained. Power coiled beneath calm. It doesn't broadcast threat. But when necessary, it's undeniable. The hawk controls distance. The white tiger controls presence. One survives through precision, the other through contained force. Focus narrows the world. Power reshapes it. The hawk isolates a target. The tiger owns the territory. Neither pretends, neither performs. They act when alignment is perfect. That's why you never underestimate either. The danger isn't what you see. It's what you fail to notice. Animals never needed to lie. They revealed their truth in how they moved. Pause. So when your moment comes, will you circle until clarity forms, or wait until the ground belongs to you? There was a black mamba who lived alone on the edge of the tall grass, not because she feared the world, but because she knew the world didn't understand her. Everyone told stories about her. They called her dangerous, unpredictable, ruthless. Creatures who had never even seen her still whispered her name like a warning. But here's the truth. The world never bothered to learn. The black mamba didn't wake up each day looking for something to strike. She woke up hoping she wouldn't have to. She avoided conflict. She watched quietly. And that's the thing the world never sees. The strongest ones are usually the most careful. But one evening, as the sun fell low over the grasslands, a rumor spread among the smaller animals. The mamba is approaching. Prepare yourselves. They scattered. They panicked. They built stories out of shadows. And the mamba simply passed through. It wasn't fear she carried. It was purpose. When she stopped to drink at the river, the birds above her whispered, "Why does she move alone?" And the river, ancient, tired, and honest, answered without hesitation. Because she refuses to let anyone else write her story. And because she learned long ago that being feared is safer than being misunderstood. The mamba lifted her head from the water, watching her reflection ripple. She didn't see a villain, she saw a survivor. A creature who never struck first, but never apologized for defending herself. And that's the truth about her kind. They don't seek trouble, But they will end it if trouble insists on getting too close. Animals never lie. People do. People create stories to justify their own fear. But the black mamba? She never needed anyone's permission to exist.
There's a line in an old book that says, Amavirumke Kanu, I sing of arms and the man. If any creature ever embodied that, it's the king cobra. The king cobra isn't the biggest snake in the world, but everything about it carries the energy of a warrior who has seen too much to ever be afraid again. It doesn't pick fights. It warns first. It rises up, taller than most men's waists, and gives you a chance to walk away. But if you don't, if you force its hand, then it becomes what it was always capable of being, a fighter who never asked for war, but finishes it clean. That's the first truth. The second truth comes from another old line, beware the fury of a patient man. No animal on this earth lives that line better than the gaboon viper. This snake doesn't chase. It barely even moves. It waits perfectly still, for hours, sometimes for days. People walk right past it. Predators step over it. And it lets them, because patience is not weakness, it's control. The gaboon viper delivers a strike so fast and so final that most animals don't even know they were hit. Longest fangs of any snake alive, all delivered from a creature that looks calm, almost gentle. Two snakes. One fights only when it must. One waits until the very last moment. But neither is weak. Neither is ever mistaken about who they are, or what they will do when pushed too far. Animals never lie. People do. Some animals never needed to lie. The walrus is proof that power doesn't have to be fast. It doesn't chase anything. It doesn't pretend to be graceful. It just exists with the kind of confidence that comes from knowing its size. Its strength and its territory are enough. It's not pretty. It's not delicate. It's honest. A reminder that presence alone can be a kind of force. The American red fox goes the opposite direction. It survives by being clever, quiet, strategic, beautiful enough to distract you, smart enough to not rely on that beauty for long. Everything about it is calculated simplicity, soft pause, sharp mind, perfect timing. It doesn't roar. It doesn't need to. Its intelligence does the talking. One thrives through dominance. One thrives through wit. Different forms of truth, both equally effective. Animals never needed to lie. They just show us that strength isn't one shape, one speed, or one style. But honesty always looks exactly like what it is. The thing about animals is this. They never get locked out of anything that belongs to them. A lion doesn't need a 6-digit code to walk back into his own territory. A wolf doesn't get a message saying, "Please confirm this was really you," before he returns to the den he built. Nature already knows who they are. No second password, no secret email account they forgot existed. No, try again later, because the system doesn't trust the one creature it was made for. Animals never needed to lie, because nothing in their world ever asked them to prove themselves every 5 minutes. But us? We get locked out of our own lives, our own accounts, our own data, because somewhere along the line, the system stopped recognizing the people who built it. And maybe that's why simple things feel so rare now, like being able to just log in, buy something, run your store, get paid, exist, without a digital interrogation. That's why I respect platforms that still make sense. Shopify, where you build your own world, and it actually lets you back into it. And PayPal, the one place that hasn't asked me to prove I'm me 14 different ways. Animals never needed to lie. They were never pretending. The world wasn't pretending with them. And sometimes, you just want that kind of honesty back.
Some animals never needed to lie. The lion doesn't roar because it's angry. It roars because the world already knows what it means. Power that isn't questioned doesn't need justification. It walks through the savannah with a certainty that doesn't require speed or stealth, just presence. The hawk is different. It doesn't announce itself at all. It watches from above, silent, suspended between sky and opportunity. It doesn't need proximity to understand control. Distance gives it clarity, a vantage point where consequences unfold before the strike. The lion survives on the ground, by claiming space. The hawk survives in the air, by mastering perspective. Two forms of dominance, but dominance isn't the message. Honesty is. When they observe humans, neither understands why we fight battles without seeing the landscape, why we rush toward conflict without lifting our gaze, or why we wait for permission from the very people hoping we don't find our voice. The lion knows presence isn't arrogance, it's truth. The hawk knows silence isn't retreat, it's strategy. Together, they reveal a lesson humans fear more than teeth or talons. Some power is earned, some is inherited, but the most dangerous kind is understood without explanation. Animals never needed to lie. They know exactly who they are, exactly when to reveal it, and exactly how far into the sky truth can travel before anyone notices their prey.
They say the oldest stories aren't written in books. They're written in the animals that survived the things we forgot. The green python of New Guinea is one of them, a creature that almost never touches the earth. Not because it can't, but because it remembers what waits below it. In tribal lore, the python wasn't just a hunter. It was a witness, a silent recorder of every secret traded under the jungle canopy. They believed its emerald scales held the memory of every lie ever spoken in its presence. That's why it coils in the trees. Not to strike from above, but to stay as far away as possible from the humans who built their world on the ground. Legend says if you ever see one descend all the way to the forest floor, something has shifted. Not in the snake, but in the balance. Because a creature who has watched the world from the safety of the branches only comes down when the truth can't be avoided anymore. And if you ever catch its eyes reflecting back at you, don't run. It's not hunting you. It's deciding whether you're still worth warning. Comment if you want the next chapter.
They were never meant to survive here. Not in places without sunlight. Not in environments where everything says they should already be extinct. And yet, they adapted anyway. The Platyrrhines were the first anomaly. Tree dwellers built for warmth and daylight, somehow living in caverns where daylight never reaches. Their eyes changed. Their calls changed. Evolution didn't shape them. Something else did. Then came the three predators, a panther, a tiger, and a snow leopard, three apex hunters from three different climates, all found in the same impossible depth, separated from their natural homes by entire continents. They didn't just survive the darkness. They mastered it. And the last was the chimpanzee, a species we thought we understood. Tool-using, social, predictable. Except these didn't behave like chimps. They were silent, organized, watching instead of reacting, as if they remembered something they were never supposed to remember. None of these animals should share an ecosystem. They should never share instincts. But they do. The same directional migration, the same avoidance of light, the same tendency to gather near structures instead of open terrain. And just like before, the patterns weren't random. Spirals in the stone,